Welcome to Brooklyn Savvy, where we have vital conversations that lead to understanding and deeper connections. I'm Toni Williams, your host. Marriage is hard. Even when temperaments and values are closely aligned, navigating the differences in cultural expectations, roles, responsibilities can leave some partnerships fraught with disappointment and anger, as the unwillingness to compromise can put a relationship into a stalemate or jeopardy. But we're going to have some fun with this today. We're joined by the brilliant and always insightful Jordan Carlos, comedian, writer, and now author of Choreplay. His book takes a sharp, funny, and deeply relatable look at the invisible labor that keeps households running and how men can have the opportunity to step up. I wanted to create a safe space to have uncomfortable yet transformative conversations that move people, amplifying the voices of those who are underrepresented and who inspire positive change. I'm Toni Williams, and this is Brooklyn Savvy. Welcome, Jordan Carlos. You are a comedian and an author and a writer, and you have written a really insightful, fun, necessary book. And it's called Choreplay.
It's called Choreplay, yes.
Talk to us about what inspired you, because you know you do tell a lot in that book. Tell us what inspired you to do Choreplay, and whose hearts and minds were you trying to change?
Okay, Toni. Well, first and foremost, yes, I was trying to reach out to were people, partners, mostly husbands, that are kind of like on the edge. Meaning, on the edge, meaning they're about to get fired. They don't even know. You know people like in the office
Fired means divorced?
Divorced. So I had gone to like 4 different 10-year anniversary parties, and within a year, all 4 of those marriages ended in divorce.
Now, was that during COVID?
That was, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Not all of them were in COVID. Some of them did end in COVID as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, when we're forced together like you're on a submarine. We made it out alive. But I mean, I feel like that was like the impetus for me, because I always wanted to write a book about relationships. What can I add? I'm the one who tells the tale after. I've noticed that about myself. You know what I'm saying? So in that same way, that's how I got to where I am nearly 18 years in.
Now, when did you get the aha moment?
You know, I said, I do anything you ask me to do. She says, but your attitude is terrible. And I'm like, hey, but I still get it done. A lot of us kind of, I think, wrongly walk around thinking that as long as I do the job, as long as I take out the trash, mow the lawn, whatever it is you need to do, you can still have a stank attitude because you're at least completing the task as your wife or person wants you to do. And that is not correct. I was just kind of like tap dancing, playing with fire in that way, And I thought because I wasn't, doing this, that, and the third, stepping out, being in the streets, then I'd be fine.
But your book was about your disengagement. You may say now that you were mowing the lawn and doing all these things, but in the book, you kind of said that you were kind of hanging out at night because you were a comedian and you were going to the clubs. You were being faithful. You were being faithful. No. You were being faithful. Comedy clubs. Comedy clubs. Let me get that right. Right. No. You never said
get it right. You said the club. Comedy clubs don't get that turned.
You're right. You're right. But you're getting there.
Right.
There was a bit of disengagement,
Absolutely.
Bit of, why do I have to do this?
Well, yeah, because in entertainment there's like license, right? You get licensed to go out at night. I mentioned that like you get to stay out and be out longer than any 30 or 40-year-old is able to do that, and you have an alibi. So it's like you get to do these things, but at the same time, right? You're providing material goods for the family. Coats, whatever it is, food and everything.
You're providing.
House providing.
You're doing your gender role.
Because I'd seen my dad do it. Love my dad, but I'd seen my dad do it. My dad delivered babies. He was like, he cared for women. He's OBGYN.
And your mother was a professor, though, so she had a job too.
Absolutely, Mom. I see you, Mom. I love you. So but at the same time, I'm just saying that he cared for women all day, but the moment he got home, he was done caring for women, and he put his feet up, you know what I mean? And so like I learned by watching him that you could do that. If you made enough money, you didn't have to do anything, you know? So that was the lesson that we're taught, not verbally, but visually. And so I took that into my own life. And I love my dad. My dad's a great guy, a generous man,
But
and
it seemed as though, and then I'm going to let other people in, it seemed as though it was unemployment that helped you see that you were not, see, I read your book.
Funny.
It was
See the light.
that
Totally.
really revealed it.
Well, because I didn't have any place to go, Tony. I didn't have any place to go. I had no place to go, Tony. Okay? It got real. It got real. And just like waking up at 9 a.m. when you're unemployed is not cute, Tony.
No, it ain't.
It's like, you know.
I've seen it.
Experienced
it.
It's not you need to do something. Yeah. You need to add.
But you know what you did that I thought was really great? You didn't blame her for your unemployment, because a lot of men, well, you know, I'm speaking general, but when they're unemployed, they kind of go at the wife, where you took it as a moment of self-reflection.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
right.
It was a time to self-reflect and to really just ante up and kick in and control what I could control, right? So it meant taking inventory in the house, learning how much TP we had or how much.
And can I just chime in there? He has a to-do list for you men. It has to do with orange juice, milk, toilet, Costco. He spells it out for you. That's what I loved about it. I said, oh, you know what? He's actually giving him a to-do list.
Yes.
Keep going.
If you don't know the levels, you will see the devil.
There's a no
like you have to
wait
know,
till this
listen.
I love that.
You have to know your orange juice level in the house. Right now, when I go home, I'm gonna get orange juice at the bodega before, because we're running a little bit low. Just a swallow left, and we need more, so we gotta have that because I don't want to hear about it. And then we have I buy 3 milks at a time, 3 at a time. You freeze some.
That's it.
And then your kid's like, we're out of milk. I'm like, check the freezer. You know what I'm saying? It feels good and snowy outside, but we got
But that means
milk.
a lot. That does mean a lot. And in your book, what I like, I may not like the terminology, and I can push back a little bit, but invisible work, right?
Yes.
You talked a lot about it, and the things that you're doing is part of that invisible work.
Yes.
The only reason why I don't like the terminology is that I see it as being the biggest secret in plain sight. I think it's ignored work that tends to be the responsibility of the woman.
Yeah.
But you had a revelation around that.
Yes, around invisible work and the work that we don't either like recognize or we certainly don't pay for unless you need like a housekeeper, this, that, and the third, right? So it's not factored into global GDP, anything like that, but it's the backbone and support for other people when they go out and work and make money. I see what you're saying, that you don't like that, and I don't like it either, because a lot of it is like, you know, there's the theory of the elves, where people are like, how did that get restocked? How did we get more paper towels? It must have been elves. But underneath that invisibility is also resentment, and it could be a little bit of like keeping a secret. Yeah. And
It does bubble up.
It does bubble up, and it will just eat away at a relationship.
Yes.
It's not the woman's responsibility to say, I am doing all these things. It is not the woman's responsibility to save her own marriage on top of maintaining it. That's where I think a lot of those
I think that's
really
a quote.
go wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Save and
So
maintain at the same time.
So it's not-
it sounds like work.
So
you know how it is.
that's like probably the number one complaint at a coffee clutch crew, or if you're doing bottomless mimosas with your girlfriend. Right? That men don't see all the things that we're doing, and we would like some help in doing it. And why is it our responsibility that you almost feel like you're raising another child?
Yeah.
So then I've got to ask you, how did you get there?
How did I get there?
How did you get to this point? Because clearly you watched your father.
What was unemployment?
I mean, there was,
Unemployment.
she's not wrong. Unemployment.
And then you got to a point
I got to
where
a point.
you were there. You could just
I got a job now.
There was a little. See, I think that's like the real aha, ha, ha. Meaning you were, as you said in
Yes.
in his book, that you went into therapy.
Yes, I went in therapy. Yeah.
And you must have asked yourself some interrogating questions.
Absolutely. I think asking yourself, like, why are you the common denominator in all of the myriad issues that go on in your life, right? If you're coming up short at work, if you're coming up short in your marriage, why is that? Why is that? Am I pushing myself to my optimum? The things that my ancestors fought and died for, am I living up to that? Not really. I'm watching Hulu on the couch and enjoying myself. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause Hulu has some great programming. No offense to whatever platform this is on. I was so close to blaming my wife, and I often did blame my wife when we were having trouble in our marriage. And what my therapist did was, they got me to ask deeper questions of what more do I want from myself? And also, what am I afraid of? And usually the answer was usually failure. I was afraid to fail in my own marriage, or I was afraid to fail in my career, so I often wouldn't take chances. And I was afraid to fail myself. So if I wanted to be a better person, I was like, man, I'm never gonna do it. I'm not gonna be consistent. There'll be a time when I get a pattern down, but I abandon the pattern.
And then all of this is showing up with your children. It's kind of like they see and they experience. You don't even know that they are, but they do.
Yes.
So the fact that you did that deep dive into yourself is going to help your kids.
But I think that it's really about being vulnerable, and that's what I keep hearing. And that vulnerability is very hard for men, and I want to kind of highlight that, right? Because there's a connotation around being vulnerable and what that means, and people struggle with that. And what I think was powerful in the book was, while it is a very lighthearted book, what you talk a lot about is being vulnerable and doing a lot of self-reflection and putting yourself out there. And I think, as somebody who is a therapist, it's something that for most couples is very hard to do, even if it's somebody you've loved for a really long time. To be vulnerable in that way and arrive at where you arrived at towards the end. My sessions, when I think about it, people will start talking about the dishes, and I'm like, keep talking. And they're like, no, that's a stupid story. And I'm like, no, because it's not about the dishes, but let's talk about the dishes, right? And unpacking it. So it's a very powerful thing. That's why I like how you did it, and you wrote the story and made the jokes about it, but it's still, what really is under it is a lot of deepness.
But I was just, go ahead.
What I also liked about it, it wasn't another thing for a woman to do.
Oh, yeah.
You took really ownership of how you saw yourself in the relationship and what you wanted to change.
But you can still hide in a relationship even if you are doing all of those things. When it comes to going to Costco and all of these other things that men can do, and you may have a husband that can do that, but the vulnerable piece just doesn't lift.
Yes.
And I also wonder, what role does culture play in that?
Well, as I was saying, I think the culture of my dad, he was born rich, he lost money, and then he had to go to work, right? And then he became a doctor. I mean, he's a much more
That's kind of nice.
Well, his father was a gangster.
Back in those days.
His dad was a gangster. My dad's a much more interesting person than I am. But the point is that you said an aspect of vulnerability, and that you could get lost in your marriage. And I think that what my dad never did was get lost in that shuffle by also being a little bit selfish about who he was. And I needed to do that too, because my wife is really hot. And so I'm always like, whatever you want, babe. And I never I get lost. I got lost. So what I had to do was get a little selfish about me, what I liked, what I didn't like.
She was overpowering you personality-wise?
My wife is from Brooklyn. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then there's the other piece.
Does that answer your question?
There's the other piece too that you always, and I bring it up. I bring up the fact that your wife is white, because you talk about that a lot in your comedy.
Yes.
Any dynamic with that?
No, she's still. I mean, she's
no, but for you and feeling vulnerable and that.
To her.
Yeah,
My wife grew up with a certain. I think there are certain. There are just certain intelligences. If you look at her, and the way she was raised about it, she would never talk about it. She was just always the first. Her picture in elementary school is a bunch of brown and black kids and her, and then that's just who she is. I never felt like she was putting on or displaying or making a spectacle of the things she understood. She just has a shorthand and gets a lot of stuff, and and she's one in a million, So I knew that, that in mind, like don't get me wrong, like if I was like, I don't know if I'll find anybody out there like her again, but I definitely was like, I don't know if I'm a white person like that, so, and I, don't get me wrong, I love chocolate cake too. But what am I talking about?
You fell in love with a woman.
Yes.
And that's just the bottom line. We can fall in love with all kinds of people,
Yes.
and I feel that speaks to who we are and where we are on the spectrum, so to speak, of our humanity.
Yes.
You should be able to love and be with whoever you want to be
absolutely.
with. I don't understand people who say, pretty much a lot of people stay together for the children. And then
Right.
as you stay together for the children, you can rediscover your marriage. Meaning, it's like, why is staying together for the children a bad thing?
That's a bad thing. Because once they graduate, you're out.
Yeah,
It's
but you can heal the relationship while you're staying together for the children.
Sometimes you can, sometimes
Yeah,
you
sometimes.
can.
Talk about the can.
Well,
no, that's okay.
No, I can talk about the can't. She's referring to me because I'm happily divorced. I didn't stay together for the children. I reached the 10-year mark in my marriage,
Right.
and then that's when I made the decision. But there were things bubbling for many years. A lot of these things don't take you by surprise. It's just, where you are mentally and what you want to see and what you want to accept in your relationship. I decided that my health was the priority in this, that I wanted to be there longer for my son. And being in that relationship would not get me to that point. So I had to make, a really tough decision. Let's say, hypothetically, Jordan, if you weren't married and you were out on the dating scene, knowing what you know now, the work that you have done now, would you show up differently? The things, the invisible work that you talked about and things like that?
Sure.
Yeah, or
I think I definitely would, because there's really no, once you open the Pandora's box, there's really no, putting the lid back on. I feel I would show up differently. And what I've really done is kind of like, if I had some new romance, it would be a romance with myself. Because I have not been romantic to myself.
What would that look like?
Well, I'm doing it right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not as we speak, but like I'm doing it. I'm doing it, and it feels great. Let me just say it.
you're not feeling the love? The internal love?
It's good. I do what I want. Not like, it's not impetuous. It's just like, tomorrow morning I'll get up like 4:30, do my workout. Before the workout, do some work, do some writing and some reading, and then do that, make my kids breakfast and whatever else. But it feels good to say to myself, I wanted to do that. I wanted to get up early, and I wanted to be that guy. So I get to be that guy, and I get to do that for myself. That's created such a self-love, that when I'm on my mat exercising, I remember I was on my mat and I was like, why don't I just take this feeling off of the mat? This feeling of balance and tranquility, equanimity. I'll be in my car, that's a big word, but I'll be in my car and I turn the music off now because I want to be with my thoughts. And I never did that before, and I forgot, or I realized how distracting music is. My thoughts are gone now.
And so this is powerful because what he's really talking to, at least what I'm hearing, is that the work begins with you.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what I say is that 50-50, you can't be 50% when you come into the relationship. No one is 100, but you're working towards that goal of being 100.
Yes.
In order to make that relationship work. And
Yes.
that work comes from you. And that is, doing that work constantly is important.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I was just gonna say that I feel like my wife is like a dime, right? And so I have, my whole marriage I've been insecure about that. And so I was like, I gotta bring my levels up. You have to find a way as your own person, as a man in a relationship, to self-soothe, to build yourself up, to self-love.
Wow.
And once you stop being like, why don't you ever support me? Why aren't you out there in these streets for me? It will, like, the person will more readily do it because they won't feel pressured to do it. You know, she wants to do it. Yeah, so that's, I don't know.
Are you going to be speaking up more about this Choreplay? Because you know you might be starting a movement, because there was another list that you had too, which had to do with how much do you watch YouTube? Do you know that?
YouTube, porn. How much are you doom scrolling?
Right.
I got like a hack for people. I got plenty of hacks.
Right.
Most of the things are pretty easy at the outset. Gentlemen, please, because we spend on average like 3 times the amount of time women spend in the bathroom. Which, you know, when we're going, we spend twice as much time. I don't take my phone in there. It's like a NASCAR pit crew. You're like, it's like boom, 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 hit the hot spots, and we out. And it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm telling you, there's so many little things that men folk can do to improve things. There's that. There's like, okay, make coffee 7:15. That's my thing. Put the coffee in like that. My wife's like, you're the best, you know? It's like, we live another day, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that makes women
it's
excited.
another win. It's another win. There's that. Get Resi. Make a reservation.
Thank you for the reservation.
Thank you, Resi. It's never been easier. It's never been easier. That's my whole thing. It's never been easier to stay like, because women will also, just to interrupt myself, women folk that I have talked to, overheard, will be like, if he would only, that's my impression of women, I'm sorry. So if he would only do this, that, and the third, right? So like, if he would only make a reservation, right?
Right.
So it's like, just make a reservation. Now you got an app, you don't have to call up, you have an app. Instagram is only feeding you restaurants to go to in New York City.
Right.
Like, it couldn't be easier. It's just a layup. It's a tip in, you know what I'm saying?
But you also found, at least when I was reading the book, this renewed relationship with your children. Because that was something that you weren't as engaged in. You want to share a little bit about that? Because that's like a win too.
Yes. Because
I mean, you weren't absentee. I'm not implying that.
No.
But the involvement, like going out.
Right.
I was listening to this Instagram about this woman who was saying she doesn't want a babysitter. She wants a baby goer. And I love that. So are you a dad baby goer?
I definitely am a goer. I like to go with my son. My son loves the city. My daughter loves the city too. They just love chopping it up. Just like seeing childhood through their eyes is fantastic. I finally kind of figured out that what I didn't have at home was my dad, because he was busy. And so that's also modeled for you. And I was like, okay, so how am I gonna like switch it up? What's my brand gonna be, you know? And I was like, okay, I don't have to be the crazy screaming dad on the sideline, but I wanna be like, I wanna be there for my kids and support and hype their interests.
So what is it that you would like men to, because this is kind of a gender, I don't want to say, I don't want to, gender, I mean, what is that? But there are still those organizing principles, that we organize our lives around. And you are stepping through that.
Yeah.
What is it that you want men to take away from when they read your book?
What I want them to understand is the distinction between not being with the person that you love so much and would die for, and being with that person can be just a matter of not doing the dishes. It doesn't have to be as wild as all that. Because when you first start out, you're like, the only thing that would drive me and my person apart is like if she slept with somebody else, or and infidelity actually ranks second behind commitment.
Well, where's money in that?
Security's
That's
important.
1.5.
It's the disregard for your other person by not showing up and like not doing, even something that you don't get your head around, you could put your arms around. If they want you to do a certain task, and if it doesn't kill you, just do it. They probably put up with a lot of your crap. And I would say the other thing is, like, we can see. This is the other thing I would impart. We can see just as much as women can. we can notice and regard.
Yes.
Isn't that
and
funny?
observe.
I didn't
It
think you
is.
could
That
do that. I
part
didn't think you
there.
could
Yeah.
multitask. So you're
I-
telling me you can multitask?
I read, I researched, I looked at the New England Journal of Medicine, all these different abstracts and studies, and turns out we can observe as much as there's no difference. It's a cultural thing. It is not. It is not gendered. It is a cultural thing, and it's like with your nose. You know, like you can actually, if you close your eyes, you can close one eye or the other. You can see your nose, but your brain ignores your nose when both eyes are open. So it's just all about what we ignore and what we don't. Yeah.
Well, this was just so healthy. Helpful.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
thank you so much, Jordan, for all that you've imparted. This book is great.
Thank you, Toni.
And I think all of us agree.
really good.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that you men out there are agreeing too. Jordan, thank you so much. You have been a delight, and you are going to save a lot of marriages, and you can just, you know, get that Nobel Peace Prize that you've been after. But anyway, we will see you next time on Brooklyn Savvy.